Welcome, everybody, to our weekly deal breakdown. The newest announcement is we are moving it to 5 p.m. Central Time.
That's
But if
right.
you are new here, this is Charles and myself. We host this every week. We pull a deal straight out of our pipeline that we have closed and funded on, and we walk you guys through the deal from A to Z, the good, bad, the ugly, the learning moments, what we could have done better, what we excelled at, and ultimately how much we made on that deal. But Charles, tell them a little bit about yourself for anybody that's not familiar.
Yeah, man. My name is Charles Stanback. I have been known a time or two as the one man band wholesaler. I have been wholesaling for about 3 years. I have gone from having a team to doing this by myself, and have found a lot of success as a one man band. So I wholesale from marketing to cold calling to closing deals to dispo transactions, everything, and I'm able to close a good amount of money every month. So that's me, man. Talk to him about the world of dispo, Crump.
I love it. Yeah, I'm all dispo. Instead of being direct to seller, I'm direct to wholesaler. We've done about 25 deals so far this year, and anybody that needs help in dispo, we can help them move deals nationwide. Any deals in Texas, that's our bread and butter. We can get those sold pretty quick. But yeah, that's what we do. So today we're going to be going over one of your deals, Charles.
Yes,
Super
sir.
super excited about it. Our last one was really fun that we did with you. So let's start off from the beginning. Where or how did you generate this lead?
Funny enough, man, this is kind of another kind of unorthodox deal that came to me. My buyer, actually, Harris Trail, who's a buyer in and around the Raleigh area. We've done a few deals together. Great buyer, great guy in general, young guy too, bro. He's like 23 or something, right?
Yep. Yep.
And he called me one day and he's like, dude, I've got this list of deals that wholesalers brought to me and they looked good, but for some reason they just didn't get closed. Like, I don't know if the wholesaler didn't have the contract, or they couldn't communicate well enough with the seller, whatever, but they brought it to me at a decent number. He even went to go see a few of these, and just like something happened where the wholesaler couldn't get it locked down. And he's like, dude, are you interested in calling these? I have prices I can buy them at. I know that they were interested in selling at some point. I just don't really know what happened. So if you want to, get a shot at it, go for it. And I
Wow.
said, yeah,
So you have a repeat buyer that you've done several deals with, who knows you're legit. He's basically bringing you dead deals that he's seen marketed to him, that he
yep,
likes, that he already has a buy price for, and he's giving you an address. You're going out and finding the seller. You already know the seller is motivated. They've already been put under contract at least
yep,
once. So
yep,
you've got somebody that wants to sell, and you've got a buy price. So you're reverse wholesaling this. And then
absolutely.
and the leads are being brought to you by a buyer. That's incredible. That's how you know you're doing the business well, when a buyer knows Charles can get it locked up. I just got to give him my buy price, and then I know that he has a good chance at going and getting that locked. You couldn't set it up any better than that.
Bro, I couldn't ask for any. He asked me like, dude, I know this is weird, but would you be
That's not weird.
willing to do this? I said, brother, I will do this for you anytime.
Yeah.
Pass me those leads, right? So, and he's like, yeah, I don't have a ton of them, but like over a few months, he'll get 5 or 6 of them. That he feels like the wholesaler just couldn't get it done or couldn't work it out for whatever reason. So yeah, so he sent me, I think 6, or no, it was like 4 in this first batch. So he sent me 4 of them. 2 of them really were deals, but this we'll just talk about one of them because the other one is still getting worked on. Yeah,
I love it. I mean, that is a beautiful setup. If you can get 4, 5, 6 warm leads with a
yeah,
buyer ready to go on the back end, and you know the buy price,
crazy.
people would die for that, bro.
I
You've
know, dude. I was like, bro, I appreciate my guy, man. That's why you want to keep a good relationship with your buyers for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Wholesalers work really hard to get anybody to raise their hand, and you're getting it
Yeah,
given to you on a platter. That's amazing. Good on you, bro, because that really does speak volumes on how you perform. To have a
yeah,
buyer,
and
you could have sent
oh,
that to anybody. I follow Harris. He's
mhm.
not just buying deals from you.
No, for sure, bro. He buys
He's
deals from all types of people for
Yeah,
sure.
he's got a
Yeah,
dozen wholesalers he can send it to, but he chose you. So
yeah,
amazing. Okay, so you get these deals sent over. Really, they're leads. You get these leads sent over to you,
yep,
4, 5, or 6 of them, and then you got to go skip trace them, right? You don't have the seller's information.
No, he sent the numbers. Oh no. Maybe it was just addresses. Yeah, he just sent addresses and prices and whatever he knew. So yeah, I had to skip trace, get the numbers. So I went to batch, put the information in with the address and everything, get the phone numbers, and I started making calls, man. And the thing is, I want to point out, this really quickly, like buyers, this is why wholesalers are important, bro, because Harris could have called all of these people himself and tried to negotiate, lock these up, and bought them even lower, right?
Yeah.
But buyers don't want to do this, bro.
Yep.
Like they have gotten accustomed to only having to work with wholesalers. They don't have to negotiate with sellers very often. They don't want to have to do that. They don't have time to do that. They got flips going on, right? They don't want to be negotiating for 5 days with somebody about a house, okay? So this is why we're important as wholesalers from a buyer's perspective, because we provide so much value to them, bringing them deals that are actually good deals. So just something to remember. But yes, go ahead. What was your saying?
I love that. Okay, and so you skip trace using batch leads?
Yeah, batch skip tracing. Yep. I skip trace with batch. I think it's only like 8 or 9 cents now, bro, and it's the best skip tracing service I've ever used. So
okay, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so you skip trace these 4, 5, or 6 sellers. You make contact with the one that we're going to talk about today.
Yep.
How does that conversation go? Do you act like you know that they've previously been under contract and they want to sell, or do you just start it from like it's a regular lead and you're asking them, hey, do you have any interest in selling?
Brother, I am none the wiser. I have no idea what's going on. I call like this is my first time. I'm just out the blue. Hey, wondering if you guys had any interest in selling this thing. And they're like, oh, actually we do. You know what I mean? And so we go through that whole thing.
From when it first got marketed from a different wholesaler, was that 1 month ago, 3 months ago, last year? No clue.
I don't know. He might have sent the email at some point. Hey, they brought this to me 3 months ago. I don't know, right? But he's like, dude, these are addresses. I don't know what happened. He literally is like, these are the addresses. Here are the prices I was wanting to pay for them. I don't know what else to tell you, basically.
That goes to show that's all. I mean, wholesalers, they'll get leads from cold callers or something, and they want to read the notes and look it up on PropStream, see when they bought it, see what their mortgage is. You don't need any of that information. You need to make the call. You need to ask the questions. That's it.
Yeah.
You figure the rest out on the call. So you call them, ask them if they're interested. They say, you know what? I don't know how you know this, Charles. I don't know how you got my number. I don't know how you got my address, but I am indeed looking to sell. Yeah. How does that conversation go after that?
Yeah, I mean, she asked me straight up, hey, like, did you, like, how did you find me, right? And
how do you answer them?
I always say pretty much the same thing. Hey, look, I work with a company that likes buying in this area, and, we call a lot of people in this area to see if there's any interest in selling. So nobody's got a bead on your property in general. We just like buying in this area. So, make a lot of cold calls to see if there's any interest. She's like, oh, no, that makes perfect sense, right?
Just a sales question. When a seller asks you that, why would you position it this way? We're like, hey, we're just calling everybody in the neighborhood and putting it as, we're not prioritizing your house, or your house isn't on a pedestal. It's just everybody in the neighborhood we're calling. Why do it that way rather than make them feel special and saying, hey, we really want your home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, some people do it that way. For me, I think about it like this. Like, one, I think people feel invaded when you know too much about them that they haven't told you, I feel like, right? I've run into that enough times where, like, people are like, how did you get they want to know how you get my information. Like, why am I getting this call, right? And I'll tell them, hey, we like calling people that have houses that they don't live in, right? That's as far as I'll go, though. I never want to, because when you do that, like, oh, I really want your house stuff, like, it gives them this inflated, like, they think you're going to overpay for it. So some people will do that just to get the conversation. If they're not open to the conversation and they seem like they don't really have an interest, some people will do that just to, like, make the person talk to them, make them feel like you're going to get this crazy number. I'm super interested in this house, right? Just to get them engaged in the conversation. I don't like doing that, though, me personally. So I take the opposite approach. Hey, I call everybody in this area just to see who's interested. If you are interested, we can work on getting you an offer type of feel.
Yeah,
just because we like the area.
Yeah, I agree with that too, because you want the seller selling you on their home, right? You want them to be wanting to work with you, almost begging you to make an offer. But then
Absolutely.
if you go the other route, hey, we really love your home. We really want to make an offer on that. We're not calling anybody else. This is the home we want. Yeah, you're putting them on a pedestal, and they own the leverage. You need to own the leverage through that negotiations, not the
Agreed.
other way around.
Yeah.
So tell her, ask her why you're calling. You explain it to her. She's motivated in selling. Why is she motivated?
Yeah, so this is my bread and butter, man. It ends up being a absentee out of state owner property. So they live actually in Maryland, in an area that I'm very familiar with. So, I get into I'm a big rapport guy, so I get to talking to her about how long they've had this property and what it's meant to them and why they bought it and all this stuff. She's out with her granddaughter or something at the moment, who's a little kid. She's like, "Look, we're trying to retire. We've got a friend that manages it, but we'd rather just have the money to put in towards our retirement instead of having this as a rental." And she's got tenants in there and all that good stuff. So, yeah, a classic, just tired landlord ready to retire type of thing.
Okay. And is this the only property she owns? Did you have any idea on that?
Besides the one that they lived in, yeah, this was just a kind of a one-off rental that they had in North Carolina. Somebody they bought it as a rental though, like somebody that they knew, down in North Carolina just brought it to them as an investment. They bought it, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, something like that, and got what they needed out of it rental wise, and were ready to move on.
So yeah, let's talk about that specifically. So do you see a difference in a landlord that owns five or less versus they own six or more?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I target people that own five or less because
Wow.
if they own six or more, 10 or more, right, that this is a business for them. This is when you own five or less, this may be a hobby. You could have inherited a couple houses, you bought a couple along the way. You're probably running this more like a mom and pop operation than a true real estate rental business. And they have less attachment to them. They don't keep up with the properties as much. They're not maintaining them as well. And they're usually willing to take a little less for those properties because they know they haven't showed it the attention that they need to. When people own a bunch of houses, they typically will take care of them a little bit better. Or they're under property management, and if they don't care about. It's because they don't care, and they're not going to sell it to you at a discount either way, right? Is what I've seen, right? So it just seems like they're a little more willing to be understanding about, hey, I haven't taken care of this property. The deferred maintenance has added up over the years, and I'd rather take that hit on the price than put in 15 years of updates right now. You know what I mean?
So a general broad question. Of course, there's details involved in this, but
Yep.
can a landlord retire off of five homes? Do you think so?
If they sell them, maybe, and it depends on where they are.
Well,
But in terms of just
I'm
for
talking about
rental income, no.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, no,
You
no,
can't.
not today. Maybe in 1970, you might could retire off of five homes, but yeah, not the way things are. You can't go to the grocery store without spending $200, man, and that's all your cash flow from a house a lot of the time. So,
Exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
no,
A cash flow on a regular home with a mortgage note, and you're hiking the rent up. It's
yep,
$200-300 at best, right?
yep,
And
yep,
then the AC blows out, or you get a winter storm and you got to replace the roof. Your cash flow is gone for the entire year.
yep,
So if someone has three of these, or four of these, or five of these, it's not a sustainable business. It's not anything they can retire on.
yeah,
So that's exactly why you're targeting them, because exactly like you said, it's a hobby for them. It's something they wanted to try out. It's not
hmm,
something that they built into a business. Sometimes these are inherited homes. Mom passes away, or an uncle gives it to them, and they say, "Hey, I'll use this as a rental." And they're
yep,
not they're not in the real estate game. They're working their job, and they're just thinking, "Hey, this is side income for me." But
yeah,
soon enough, they figure it out that this isn't something that I can super really profit off of. This is
yep,
something I really need to stay on top of. I've got a job and a family and don't have any time to devote to this. So that is
yep,
why you and others target these tired landlords with five or less homes, because it's something that they're not building their life around. It's not a business for them.
yeah,
A lot of the times they're really hurting. Your seller actually did it for 10 or 15 years, so she
hmm,
stuck around a long time. But often these people are like 1, 3, or 5 years into it, and they're calling it
exactly,
quits.
yeah,
Uh,
for sure,
okay, so your seller's out of an absentee, meaning that they don't live in the home, and they're
hmm,
out of state. So they're in
Yep.
an entire different state. If
Yep.
they need to come and unclog a toilet, it's not going to be them. They're going to have
Yep.
to pay a handyman to come over there and fix it. So there's two factors that would lead you to believe that they might have a little bit more interest in selling. So
For sure.
you have that conversation with her. She says, "Hey, I'm ready to retire. I'm ready to get out of it." What happens after that?
Yeah, so we talk about the house. They don't know because they haven't been to the house in a few years. They don't know exactly what's going on, right? Like there is a property manager. Property managers generally do a bad job about going and actually checking out what's going on at some of these houses, right? So they're like, look, they could tell me some rough dates on AC and roof in terms of cosmetics and whatnot. They're like, we really don't know what it looks like on the inside. We think it's pretty good, but we really can't say, if you will. So, I go through the entire process with them still, asking them about the house, asking about how this will affect them positively selling this, what they plan on doing. And we end up getting to price, right? Getting it to some
Let me
offers.
let me pause you there. So you're having you have these conversations all the time. When a
Yep.
seller who's an absentee, out of state owner has no idea on condition, how do you handle that conversation? What do you assume about condition, and how do you run your numbers with a seller who really has no idea how that home looks in today's date?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. So, I'll let them know. Usually they'll tell me that pretty early. Hey, look, I don't really know what's going on, right? And I'll tell them, look, completely understand that. Thank you for letting me know. I'm gonna go through the process of like asking the questions that I need to know the answer to anyway. And we'll just answer. All I ask is you answer them to the best of your ability. Okay.
Okay.
So if you don't know, tell me you don't know. Maybe we'll be able to work on a ballpark range. If you do know, you do know. It's nothing against you if you can't tell me, but let's go through it. Let's answer what you can. Usually they know a little bit more than they think, to be honest with you. Like sometimes they'll say, oh yeah, I don't really, they'll say they don't know anything. When you start asking the questions, it's like, oh, actually, yeah, we did replace the roof 5 or 7 years ago or something like that. Or we did have to do some HVAC work, 3 years ago or whatever. Right. So, they end up knowing more than you think usually. And, it gives you an opportunity also to like create this, like, this kind of vision of a house that, hey, look, you don't even know what's going on in that house. You can't really tell me. So what do you expect me to do? Right. Like if I don't really know what's going on in that house, it kind of gives you the opportunity to lead them to like a, hey, and they, a lot of the times they end up saying, hey, yeah, I mean, I know I'm going to, probably not going to be able to get top dollar for this because I just really don't know what's going on. Tenants have been there for 5 years, right? It allows that to be a little easier to handle. So yeah, that's how I usually go about that.
And what do you mean when you say that you talk to them about the positives of selling?
So what I like to do is kind of ask, like, hey, what's your goal here? Like, what does this do for you selling this house? Right. Like, I'm not trying to get your business, right? But I'm just trying to figure out what your end goal is so I can see what's the best option for you. Because it's not just cash, right? That's not the only way that you can sell a house. And I genuinely have a giver and a helper spirit about this. So even if I'm talking to somebody and I feel like this is not wholesale is not the best way to, this is a perfect house, you need to put this on the market, right? Like just straight up, right? I'm very honest about that and I make that clear up front. So when I ask the question, I'll tell them, hey, my goal is to see what a good option for you would be, right? Whether that's working with me or not, I'm trying to help you find a solution to whatever you're trying to get to here. So I'll ask, hey, what's your goal here? What are you trying to get to? How is this going to benefit you? What benefit are you trying to receive by selling this house? And that usually leads into more the motivation and like what they're really, really trying to do with selling a house. And that can help you solve their problem, right? You have to know what that problem is in order to solve it. So that's the goal of asking that.
So let's talk specific to that. What is on your tool belt for you to be able to offer solutions, even if it's not you wholesaling it?
Mhm.
What's in your tool belt? Because some of these wholesalers look at it as cash only.
Yeah.
What does Charles provide as a solution provider?
Yeah, so I mean, basically the big things are obviously cash. Those are our favorite. Those are usually the bread and butter, right? But you can also do creative. I've done a couple of creative deals now, a few creative deals really, that have benefited the seller, right? Where they wanted a certain price, or usually it comes down to price when you're going creative like that, or if there's a mortgage or something crazy is happening where cash doesn't work, creative can be helpful. And also, providing a real estate agent, right? I know a lot of agents. I'm fine to recommend agents to sellers if that's the route that they need to go down, right? Or hey, if you want this number and you're not willing to, sacrifice on that, do a little work to it. I can recommend a contractor to you that can help you get that work done, get you some pricing at least, and then list it on the market, right? So those are really the three major ways that I can generally help somebody. Or hey, keep it as a rental. Sometimes people are still trying to decide, hey, yeah, I mean, I really enjoy the cash flow and I don't really want to sell it. And it's been a great rental for me unless I can get $1 million. Hey, keep it as a rental, brother. Like, if you need a property manager, I can try to recommend one of those for you. And I don't always have these people in my tool belt either. I will go call people to satisfy whatever that help is, because that's what you got to do sometimes, right? So those are the main things that I usually recommend people do, depending on their situation.
Yep. And if anybody has missed it, about 5 or 6 deal breakdowns ago, Charles did this exact thing. He helped an older lady. He pointed her in a different direction. He didn't make an offer because he didn't think he was the best fit for her.
Yep.
She returned a couple months later and sold it to him because he was so helpful in helping her. So that stuff does, there is some good things that come out of that. But okay, so you have that conversation, and then you guys get to price. How do we handle price?
Yeah, so I mean, Harris wants this at basically 200, and guess what the seller wants? I'll give you one guess. 200,000, baby. They want 200,000. All right. So now I can do a deal. If I want to make $0, I can do a deal. You know what I mean? They're straight up. So I'm like, I get where you guys are coming from. I think I offered initially like 170. 170 is where I came in initially, knowing that they wanted 200.
Any idea what it was previously marketed for?
I do believe he told me that I don't know what they had it locked up for, but I know that he just told me I needed at 200, right? And the wholesale was close, or could do that, and something fell apart, right?
Okay.
So
you offer 170.
Yeah, I offer 170. She's telling me that's too low. I can't go that low. I mean, I just know that area, blah, blah, blah. And she's right. The area is a good area. There's a lot of flips going on for sure. But I'm telling her, hey, look, we're gonna buy this thing, with your tenant. We're gonna make this pretty easy for you. You're not gonna have to come down here to get this closing done. So, what can we do here? Right? What's the best you think you can do for me? Can you work with me on this price? She's like, yeah, I mean, I think we ended up going back and forth. I tried to get it at 180. Still no. This was a tough seller. This was not her first. I think they had owned a few rentals before, and this was the last one, but it was definitely still less than 5. I don't think they ever had like a huge portfolio, but this wasn't her first rodeo. So we ended up getting it locked up at 190, right? So created a quick 10K spread, but it didn't happen immediately. It didn't happen on one phone call. She was basically telling me, look, I really want this 200. And, I talked to her for 45, 50 minutes, and she realized, hey, I've had a ton of these conversations. This is probably the person that I've trusted the most from one of these conversations. So she's like, look, if you can get to 190, I'll talk to my husband. I think we'll be able to make that work. Right.
And let's so how does that go for a seller that has already been under contract? She's apprehensive on probably doing a business again because ultimately her time was wasted on the last one.
Yep.
Is there more rapport needed? Are you giving referrals? How are you winning her over and making her feel like you're going to be the guy that gets it done rather than the last guy? Is it just better questions? What is how do you work from that kind of angle?
Yeah, I think it's all of that, man. I mean, most wholesalers don't really know what they're doing, at the end of the day. So honestly, brother, I didn't really change much about what I do here. I just went through my normal process, right? Building a good amount of rapport, telling third-party stories to show that I've done this before, right? Giving my information out, being very open and honest and upfront with her throughout this entire conversation. And I do have in my back pocket, I know where I can sell this guaranteed, right? So that gives you another level of confidence really when you're talking to somebody, because I literally am telling her this is going to happen. if we can get this done at this price, right? Pretty much no matter what. And I did end up to like really get this thing pushed to the closing table, because I think the other wholesaler was still trying. Like,
Of course.
we're still trying to get it done. We're still trying to get it locked up again or whatever, which is really the reason why I couldn't get it lower. I think she didn't tell me that necessarily, but I could tell she was having some other conversations, and I think I probably would have been able to get it for 175 or 180 if it had just been me, just to be real. But I had some competition. Huh?
It never is just you though.
Yeah, I mean, rarely. Yeah, rarely is it just you. So, we ended up, going back and forth. I got on the phone with her and her husband at one point, just to let them know. And this is when I pulled out the look. We're so serious about this, and this because Harris had already told me I'm good to do this. Hey, $5,000 in earnest money. That's how serious we are about getting this done, right? We're not going to play around about this. Here's the agreement. We'll walk through it, all this good stuff. So we get on the phone, her and her husband, we go through the agreement. And this, again, man, goes back to just sometimes you just gotta trust that you've done your job, because we went through that agreement, brother, and they hit me with the phrase again.
They need to think about it.
Yeah, let me just get to it. Let me let you know something in 24. I'm like, and I just tell them straight up, yeah, look, if you're gonna just shop me out and you're gonna go a different direction, just tell me now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no. I'm honestly just want to read over it again with my wife, just the two of us. You've done a great job explaining what's going on. We just want to read through it one more time, make sure everything is good. I'm like, okay, but just for sure, if there's anything else that's really like holding you back, like what is it really? He's like, no, that's really it. Like, we just want to read over it again ourselves. We'll let you know something in the morning. And we're good. We think everything in here looks good. We just take our time with this type of things. Right. And I pushed, believe me, I pushed 2 or 3 more times to try to get that thing signed that night. But it got to a point where I had to realize and accept, hey, I've done my job here. I've done what I was supposed to do. I've made them feel comfortable. I can tell that. And, I got to trust that they're telling me the truth here. And so I did. And, sure enough, they signed that next morning. So it probably took about 5 days in total from the first conversation.
That's great. You said that you share third-party stories during that negotiation. What do you mean third-party stories?
Yeah, so I'll tell stories of other people that I've helped in similar situations. I've bought multiple properties in North Carolina from people that have lived in the exact same area, because there's a very strong North Carolina to like Maryland, DC connection. So I talk to people all the time that live there and own houses here or vice versa. So I just told them, hey, look, I work with a young lady named Terry who owned a house in Fremont, North Carolina. She lived in Northern Virginia, which is very close to where they were. We bought 2 properties from her. She didn't have to come down here. We got it done quickly for her. She got paid. It was very easy for her, worked around her work schedule, all that good stuff. So I know I know the situation that you're in, right? We've worked with people in this exact situation before, and we know how to take care of you.
Why would a seller want to hear that?
Because it shows them that you've been through, this isn't your first rodeo. Nobody wants to work with somebody on their first rodeo. I mean, most of the time, right? Somebody's going to have to do it at some point, right? But, they want to feel like you know what you're doing. They want to feel, it shows them, hey, okay, they've worked with other people in my same area that have sold houses in North Carolina, right? It makes them feel a sense of trust and a sense of, like with that type of like connection. It gives them that connection of like, okay, I'm not the first person that's been in this situation, that's worked with this company, so I'm going to do it again. It's like if you go to, McDonald's, you expect a certain level of service because of what you've heard other people say of your experiences there before. So if you know somebody else has had a good experience, or you go to read a review on Amazon about something you just bought, right? Or something you're thinking about buying, it says, oh, this is great. Right, I had a great experience with this. You're going to be more inclined to buy it. So that's the same type of feeling you're trying to create by telling that third-party story. It's like giving yourself a personal review through the lens of somebody else, which is helpful when it comes down to it.
And door-to-door salesmen do that all the time, right? A roofer knocks on your door. Hey, we're doing your neighbor's David's roof down the street, just knocking on a couple doors, seeing if you guys could use our help. They do that whether they're telling the truth or not. They do that
whether they're not.
David 3 doors down is doing his new roof. I don't want to have
Yeah.
to work in the neighborhood. And so
Yeah.
they share that. Another thing, so you said because you're buyer, you already had a buyer ready to perform, you went 5K down on earnest money, which is a lot
Hmm.
for a wholesaler.
Yep.
Did Harris already walk that property? Like what did you have supreme confidence in that?
Yeah, so what we ended up doing was we did the 5K like contingent on, and it had like a what's the name period on it. So he had either been by it, I don't think he'd been in it yet, but he had been by the house or like driven past it, had pictures of it already, so I didn't have to get pictures. And he was pretty confident in his number, so it was 5K, but I did have an inspection period, so it wasn't
Okay,
just like straight up 5K. Yeah, and
beautiful.
he put the
So
5K down. I didn't do it.
so if a seller is budgeting on a higher earnest money, you're telling
Hmm.
them that they can do that as long as they have an inspection period.
Yeah, I mean, I've won deals by going higher on earnest money before, so it is a good idea to have some earnest money or a gator lender or somebody that can help you out with that because it shows that you're serious, right? It shows that everybody else is telling you 200 in earnest money, and this guy's saying 5,000. It's kind of a no brainer, right? If that's an option, so
Yep,
yeah.
I like it. And so the last question I have, you said that they wanted to think it over. When you
Hmm.
give your offers, do you say, hey, there's a 24-hour period on this offer, or how do you frame that to kind of drive some urgency? Or do you just not and you just say, hey, understand, I'll talk to you tomorrow, whenever it might be.
It depends. So there are situations where I'll say, hey, I can only hold this for 48 hours, or I can only hold this for 24 hours. If I feel like I'm dealing with a person that has trouble making decisions,
Mm.
I feel like they have trouble like deciding to do something or like taking that step to actually make it happen. I usually will use that as a tactic, not because you're trying to trick them. Like some people need help, need a little bit of a push to make decisions, right? That's just how they are. So you have to, do that sometimes. In this situation, I didn't have to do that. I might have told them, I don't remember exactly, but I might have told them, 48 hours or something, but I don't think I did. I think it's like, look, let me know tomorrow if we can make this happen or not. You're not going to hurt my feelings if you don't do it. Okay. Like
Yeah.
if you don't want to do it. And I tried that. Hey, look, if we're not going to do this, I'd rather you tell me now.
Yeah.
Right. I said that the night that we were talking about it, going over the contract. It's like 10:30 at night, bro. It's like 10:30 on a Thursday night or something. We're going through it. I'm talking to them. I'm like, if we're not going to do it, or if there's something that's holding you back, just tell me now. It's going to be fine. I can void this out. And they're like, no, we're good. Like I said, we just want to, sleep on it, read over this one more time, and we'll sign it in the morning. So I
Yeah.
told him, okay,
Yeah.
and that was
And
it.
some people, you're exactly right. You're not trying to force anything. They can say yes or no, but some people, I mean, think back to school, right? Some of us didn't do our homework until the day it was due, until
Yeah,
mom was dropping us off or filling it
yeah,
out in the morning. So some
yeah.
people just need that shot clock, and they'll spend the whole 24 seconds or
I
however much
know.
time you give them, but they're gonna
Yep.
put the ball up before
Yeah,
before it goes off.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're exactly right. Okay, so you guys agree on 190. Harris is there on the back end at 200.
Hmm.
Just getting it signed, and then you're assigning it the next morning, or what does that look like?
Yeah, I signed it, same day, wasn't it? Like they signed the agreement, I got it signed the same day, sent it over to the attorney, and this is when the fun really began.
No, no, I thought this was going to be a cakewalk. I honestly did.
Yeah, nah. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but it was not a cakewalk.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay. So contract is signed, and you've assigned it to a buyer. You got to turn in a title or the attorney.
Mhm.
What comes up after that?
Yeah, so this is in April that we get this contract signed, and it just got funded today. So, yeah,
So you
this is
were
mid
weeks into
mid
this.
April. Yeah, mid April. Okay. So Harris tells me while we're going through this process of I'm talking to him about how we want to handle this. He's like, look, because I'm telling him, hey, there's a tenant, and they had it in the agreement with the lease with the tenant. He was on month at this point, but when they signed the lease, whenever that was 3 years ago, they had something there and said they give him 60 days to move out. So the seller is obligated to give them 60 days. And Harris is like, look, I don't want to close on this immediately, but I will close when they have a place to move to and proof of that place to move to. Okay. So I'm like, okay, that sounds good.
And Harris's
Well,
plan is to flip it,
yeah, he's flipping this.
so he
Yep.
doesn't want a tenant in there. He needs
Yeah, I
it.
want
He
those
needs
tenants
it.
in there. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. So we agreed, the seller agrees that that's reasonable, right? And that we can do this. So in the agreement, there's have an additional term section. I had that in the additional terms, right? Hey, we will close within 14 days of tenant having a place to go, like being able to prove that they have a new place to live.
What does
Seller
proof
was
look?
good with that. Huh?
What does proof look like?
I didn't know at the time. I had no idea what that proof needed to look like at the time, which I've learned now kind of what that entails. But um, but the first thing we have to do is deliver the notice, and and this is the thing, bro. People are just so like they have a property manager, right? And their property manager tells them, I say, hey, go ahead and have your property manager deliver notice, the 60-day notice. And the property manager tells them, yeah, I mean, you guys are the owners. You guys should probably deliver the notice yourselves. I'm
Wow.
like,
So the property managers aren't going to manage the property?
I said, although that is their literal job, Mrs. Seller, I will help you. I'll deliver the notice for you if you need me to do that. All right. So we get a document drafted, like an official notice document in North Carolina drafted. And I have my cousin who does boots on the ground stuff for me all the time actually go to the house with the document, hand it to the seller, take a picture of it, like, hey, here's notice being delivered, right?
Sir.
Right. You've been served, right? So we get the notice taken care of, and now we got 60 days. So she sends me the I get all the information for the tenant, right? And Harris had gone to the house. They were a little nervous about the seller was a little nervous about still spooking the tenant. So we had to go in there on some we're just insurance people stuff, and just to make sure that they're not spooked and leave tomorrow, even though that'd be better for all of us. But whatever. I think the property manager told them, hey, if they get spooked, they probably won't pay their rent.
Yeah, so let's break that down real quick. So
Yeah.
there are occasions where it's not the wholesaler who is trying to misrepresent, it's the seller who doesn't want to tell their tenant yet that
Yep.
they're going to sell because they fear, one, if you don't perform and then they still have the property, they don't want that tenant to jump the gun and move out because then there goes their cash flow. And then if you cancel the contract, they now have a vacant home rather than when they had a tenant. So some sellers want to wait until the last minute to notify, and they're still going to follow their obligations on that lease agreement, but they don't want to jump the gun and tell that tenant early. Maybe that tenant has been a headache. Maybe that tenant's going to tear up the house before they leave, or maybe the tenant is going to leave early, and then you end up falling out of contract, and then they don't have a tenant in place. So your buyer has to go there and say, hey, I'm here on behalf of the seller. I'm an insurance quote for them or whatever it might be, and that's straight from the seller's mouth. That's how you guys have to represent yourselves. So your buyer goes there as an insurance guy, walks the property. How does that go?
Oh, I got the timeline wrong on this. So he did that before we signed.
Okay.
He did that in that like 5 or 6 days because they wanted it to be, hey, when we sign this, we want it to be good to go, right?
Yep.
Which is fine. So yeah, that's fine with me. So Harris goes over there, sees it, good. We're good at 200. He goes over there as an insurance guy, right? So once we actually get it inked, they're like, okay, now we can deliver notice and let the tenant know. So it was fine though. He went over there, it was fine. He did ask him though. The tenant literally asked him, "Are you guys buying the house? Like, is that why this is happening?" And he was like, "No, we're just checking on insurance because that's the seller's wishes." You know what I mean? So, he tells me that at the because he would have. I don't live in North Carolina at the moment, right? Or I wasn't there, so. I was gonna have him deliver the notice, but he's like, "Bro, I just went over there as the insurance guy. I can't deliver the notice." Right. So I had to have somebody else do it. But yeah, that was a little, that was tricky, but something that we worked through pretty easily. And it took probably a week for me to even get a hold of the tenant after that. So we get the notice delivered. I got his number, calling, texting. Finally, I'm able to get him on the phone, talk to him. As most tenants in this situation are, he's like, I don't have a clue where I'm gonna go. Like, I could use some help with this. I just, trying to figure it out, right? Because he lived there for
And
2
I'm
years.
gonna guess you offered to help, which is
Of course.
what I would not do. I think that's
Yeah,
terrible
yeah, yeah. No,
woman to
for sure.
do. But
That's
you
right.
sometimes put yourself in a position that you're over helping.
I
So
do, I do, I do, and of course I did again, right? But I told him they extended. This isn't. I've gotten better. At least I will tell tenants this is not what we do, right? I can send you some suggestions on houses that you may be interested in that you say are in your price range in the area that you're looking for, but ultimately it's going to be up to you to find something and secure it, right? Like if you need me, call me and I'll help you however I can. But I don't want. I'm not trying. I because I've had tenants feel like
they
I'm
just
gonna do all the work. Yeah, I'm gonna find you a place. I'm gonna fill the application out for you. I'm gonna get you moved. I've had them feel that way before and it doesn't work. So I make it very clear. I am a resource, not the solution here. Okay. And he understood that. And so for weeks, we are going through this song and dance of what's going on. And finally he says, okay, I'll be out by. I know he was supposed to be out by June the 10th. That was the 60 days. June the 17th, I think. After we had been a few days, right? He says I'll be out by July the 5th, right? My uncle's moving out of his house. I'm moving into his house, paying him. Blah blah blah. I'm like, okay. So I let Harris know. I don't know what the burden of proof is right now, right? So I tell Harris, hey, we've got a move out day. He says we'll be out on July the 5th. He's like, okay, sounds good. Can we get some kind of like proof of where he's going, or landlord's phone number, the person that he's moving into the house for that he's going to be paying? Can I get their phone number just so I can talk to them and confirm this? I'm like, cool. So I'm calling him. Hey, just need to talk to your uncle real quick just to confirm. I believe you. I don't think you're lying, but we've been in this situation a few times. We just want to have a quick conversation with him to confirm. Sure. I'll have him call you. Cool. Week goes by, week and a half goes by. I'm hitting him every day, every other day. Hey, I need your uncle to call me so we can make this happen. Right. His uncle calls me probably 2.5 to 3 weeks later. Right. At like 9:30 p.m. My phone goes on do not disturb at 8:45. So I missed the call. I happened to look and saw that it was a random number. I didn't know what number it was coming from. And I get a lot of random phone calls. So I, didn't pay any mind. And the tenant ends up calling me and texting me, hey, my uncle tried to call you. So I finally get the uncle on the phone. I call him right back. Hey, I three-way Harrison immediately. I called Harris first, actually. I called Harris first. I'm like, hey, we're about to call this guy's uncle. He says he's kind of ornery, like kind of a grumpy guy. So let's just get this done. So the three of us are on the phone. Harris is asking the questions that he wants to know. And he's like, okay, sounds good, man. Appreciate that. If I have anything else, I'll shoot you a text. And the guy says, yeah, that's fine. Just let me, I'm a truck driver. I'm ready to go to bed, or whatever he was doing. So, we get off the phone. Harris is like, all right, bro. Like, he was like, I still don't all the way, like, understand what's going on, but like, it's cool. Let's just do it. Let's get it done. So I'm thinking, finally, right? This is June probably early June. So right around June the 10th, June the 12th, something like that is when this went down. We finally got that burden of proof that the guy had somewhere to go.
okay. And now Harris is ready to close on it with that tenant in place, hoping in 2-3 weeks that tenant is going to be out.
Yes, exactly. So the file has been with the closing attorney. I've closed another deal with that attorney since the file has been there for a long time. I've closed like 2 deals with this attorney since this one has gotten to the closing table. They got locked up after this one just because it's been sitting there. So we, text Alexis, email Alexis, hey, we're good to go on this. Harris is good. She's like, okay, we'll get this done. I'm thinking, all right, 2 weeks, we'll have this thing closed. I told the seller, hey, 2 weeks, we'll get this thing closed. She's perfect. 2 weeks goes by, and Alexis, who's the main paralegal at the attorney's office that we use, was out for like that second whole week. So Harris is using a lender. He ends up having to, bro, what's super crazy? Look at this. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just got an email. I want you to look at this email. I'm just gonna flash it really quick.
Deals. Hey man, see if you can make a deal for. So you got more leads?
Yeah, literally just now he just sent me more. That's crazy, isn't it?
I love it. I love it.
Crazy. And there's just a bunch of these actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more that we can run on.
There
So
you
I'm
go.
not bullshit when I say this, okay? But anyway, 2 weeks goes by. She's been out, and I'm kind of like, what's going on? Are we good? Harris has to change lenders because the one lender said it was high risk, well, blah, blah, blah. The lender's giving Alexis a hard time about the paperwork. So we're supposed to fund, and it's like the money is not there yet, basically, right? So she ends up telling me, hey, I need an addendum with because I put April the 17th as the close date or something like the June 17th, something like that, just as a placeholder closing date, knowing that it was probably going to be later than that because we had to wait for the proof of moving out.
Mhm.
But the lender was like, that close date happened a long time ago. I need something that shows a better close date.
Lenders
So
are by the book.
they are,
Whatever's
man.
on paper is what they got to go by.
Yeah. So I called the seller. I'm like, hey, or she doesn't answer. I send her a text. Hey, got to get this addendum just for the lender's purposes. Can we, I get another week, basically, right? So this happens on. Let me look at the calendar really quick. I called her on Monday the 17th with this news, right? Hey, we need to get this done. We'll do it for the 21st, that Friday. Or no, I did this on the 14th. So this is June 14th. I'm like, hey, we got to get an addendum with a closer close date to where we are. We're gonna set it for the 21st, which is an entire week. Harris is like, there's no way we don't get this done by then, right? So I'm like, cool, let's do it. She's like, okay, like sounds good. She's very, very patient with me about this, and I really appreciate that. And a trick to encourage patience is leading with, I appreciate you for being so patient with me, right? That's how I lead the conversation. Hey, Ms. Lena, I really appreciate you being so patient with me, throughout this whole process. Here's what we need to do, right? She's like, okay, cool. So we get the addendum that goes into June the 21st. Everything's looking good. We get the docs sent off there out of state. So we send them the docs. They have to mail the docs back, right? Lenders approve the funding. We're good. The docs get sent, right? Overnight. So 11 a.m. comes the next day. I get a call from Lexi. She says, I got news. I say, what's going on? This is on the 21st, right? So we're hoping to close on the 21st. The docs get there on the 21st. And she says FedEx delivered it to the wrong building. The docs. Address is right and everything, but they delivered it to the wrong. And this building has like 100 offices in it. So there is no finding it at this point. No, the lady at the reception desk, like, I have no idea where this is. It could be anywhere. Right. So now we're like, okay, she's like, I just talked to the seller. She's out of town. Now I have to have her send the documents back and I have to get the lender documents approved again because every day can tweak the numbers that are needed, right? And with cash, not as big of a deal, but the lender wants a HUD sign, wet sign HUD, not a DocuSign HUD. So we got to change numbers on the HUD, get the things sent back, right? So literally today, Monday the 24th, I get the text. We are funded. Docs are in. We're good to go. So finally, we got this thing nailed down.
Yeah, that goes to show. I mean, how many people are involved in making a deal happen, all the way down to the UPS driver.
FedEx guy, man, it's
FedEx
crazy.
guy. Yeah, don't let me disparage the wrong company. FedEx guy bringing it to the wrong office can blow up a deal or delay a deal. So you had to wait another week to get paid and for Harris to take over that.
Yeah, bro. It was a crazy process, bro. I thought this was gonna be closed 3 weeks ago, and although there were some problems, and Harris apologized for this, bro. He's like, "Look, dude, I wasn't on this like I should have been with my lender. I didn't realize I'm gonna have to switch lenders, all this stuff, and there's a little different process." I said, "Bro, it's all good, baby. Like you brought me this lead at the end of the day, so I'm not mad at you, but." I could have, and a lot of wholesalers and people do get really upset in these situations when it's like, there's nothing that I can do about it, and I trust that Harris is doing the best that he can. to get this done and that Lexi's doing the best that she can, there is no point in me getting upset about it, right? You have to keep your composure in some of these situations. Even when you want to get mad and you're frustrated because it's not going the way that you want, getting mad at either one of these people that I do repeat business with or not keeping the seller updated is not an option. You got to just play it cool. You can never lose. That's the motto of life. So
Exactly right. And something else to that, and I know you live up to this, is you yourself, Charles, and anybody else in your position need to shoulder that blame and that responsibility. You could have been more in touch with Harris, right? You could have been
100%.
asking the title, hey, do you have everything from the lender? So
No
when
question.
things do go wrong in the deal, there's blame all around, but you need to look at it on yourself and say, what could I have done? Right? It's not going to help you at all putting all the blame on Harris, because now you're going to go into another deal and not have learned from that one. And that mistake is going to continue happening until you learn from it and fix it. And so that's the way that we need to look at most of these problems. You know, you can only control what you can control, but you can influence a lot and stay on top of a lot of things. You know, if it's not you taking care of it, then who should it be?
Yeah.
It should always be.
Bro, I'm so glad you said that, because if there's anything, I think we're at the takeaway point here, right? That probably is one of my biggest takeaways on this deal is like, you're exactly right. I assumed, because I've done deals with Harris before, I've done deals with Alexis before at this title company, that they were handling it, and it was all I had to do was sit back, big mojito on line one, you know what I mean?
And they likely, I'll pause you real quick there. They likely thought the same thing. I've done a dozen deals with Charles and Harris. Harris has done a dozen deals with this lender. Everybody's just thought everybody else is doing the work.
Yeah. And so you're exactly right. But as the wholesaler, it is your responsibility to make sure that that deal is moving forward. That's not the only deal that she has. That's not the only deal that Harris is working on. And it was on me not to, I should have been during those 2 weeks, every other day or something, every couple of days, I need to be, hey, just checking in, making sure we're good. You need anything from me, right? Because Harris wouldn't have had the opportunity to not be on the ball. Alexis wouldn't have had the opportunity to like forget about this until she's like out, right? Like that wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have had the opportunity to happen. So yeah, 100% I learned, bro, even if you're working with your best friends, your best buyers, your best anything, you still have to stay on top of that and make sure you're making sure everybody's doing what they need to be doing, and you can't do anything to help as well. That's probably my biggest, that, and be a freaking stand-up wholesaler, and your buyers will send you deals, man. Those are the two things that I definitely took out of this.
Yeah, that second one is my takeaway, is your buyers can be a lead source for you.
Yep.
That's so huge. Just like some people, some really smart people who have good rapport with title companies, they can ask their escrow officers, hey, have you seen any deals fall out lately?
Mm-hmm.
You know, do you mind sharing that address with me and I can do the rest? You can do the same thing with a buyer. Hey, was there any deals that you've been interested in lately that, ultimately didn't close or were overpriced? Could you just share those addresses with me? And then I'll go do the rest of the work. What price would you be reverse wholesale? What price do you think you'd be interested in? Now you've got the lead and you've got the price on the back end. And you can make 10K just like Charles did in 5 days. I mean, the ultimate is 60 days.
Yeah.
But you talk to that seller, negotiate it for 5 days, and you create 10K.
That's a fact. And the crazy thing is, bro, I don't know if you remember this. We've done a deal breakdown on one I've gotten from a title company before.
Yeah.
It was a creative deal. Yeah. So both of those things are more than. I'm about to email all the title companies I know tomorrow and ask if they got any deals that they need that fell through that I might be able to get done for sellers. So
yeah, doing good business and having longevity in this game, things come back to you tenfold, and the business starts to get really, really easy when you do the business right. Yeah. Because now you've got word of mouth, you've got referrals, you've got people giving you free leads. I mean, people pay hundreds or thousands of dollars for a list of 10,000 just to hope for 5 motivated leads, right?
Yeah.
You got 5 motivated leads, and you got 2 deals, one under contract, one closed and funded out of it. And then you just on this live call, you got more leads from that same buyer.
Yeah. And I see Harris in the comments. You didn't tell me Harris was in here talking shit about my
I don't see it. Maybe it's from yours.
Yeah. I had to. Oh, it probably is for mine. Don't worry, Harris. I will dunk before it's all said and done, and you will be paying me. You will be paying me.
Is Harris on my side?
I think he's probably on mine.
He thinks you're dunking?
Oh no, yeah, he doesn't think I'm dunking. Yeah, he put money up against me, bro. It's
I don't want
crazy.
to put money up. I don't want to put money up against you, but you're not no 31-year-old Spud Webb or 28,
All right,
29.
I mean, bro, I got 6. I've been chilling too. I can almost dunk now, and I ain't even been trying. Right? So I'm just making this shit interesting for you guys, yo. By the
Hey, you
time
still got
December
6 months.
31st comes around, you will be getting regular dunks out of me. Probably
Yeah.
in game, for real.
In-game dunks. That's a totally different thing.
In game dunks.
Okay.
Yeah, for
Well,
real.
Harris, we appreciate you giving
Yes, sir.
Charles an opportunity to make $10,000. Charles, that was a really cool breakdown. I really liked that one. I liked it. Your lead source, what you had to overcome, the takeaways. So yeah, this was a really good one.
Yeah, this was a solid one, bro. Shout out to Harris. Shout out to you. Let's keep keep the party going.
Let's get it. We'll be back next Monday, 5 p.m. I've got a number of deals closing this week, but if one closes that I'm hoping will close, we'll have a really good one. So I'm excited about that. All right, everybody. We'll see you next Monday.